Alright everyone, there's some AstroTurfing going on and a little bit of economic gaslighting, I suppose. The other day, communists were trying to get MAGA Communism trending, and I can't believe that I have to actually explain why this is a poor idea and can't possibly work. And there was a Substack fucking article on RCP that was trying to explain how actually it made sense, and I'd like to debunk a few things here. No, MAGA Communism cannot exist and does not exist. It's a co-opting attempt by the far left on MAGA, and it probably glows in the dark. It seems like an effort to make MAGA look like it's frenetic and insane by associating it with communism, which, you know, the vast majority of humans in this world understand is not a working system. It's failed over and over. No, it's not because of the CIA or anything like that. It's because the economic underpinnings of it are too highly centralized and it simply can't work. It's a utopian ideology like some others, and it's non-working. There is never going to be a successful implementation of anything resembling communism. It's been tried over and over for a century now. It always fails and usually leads to genocides. This is the inevitable end result of a highly centralized system, even if it didn't have an economically centralized policy. But it tends to do so because of the nature of authoritarianism. Here are some points. Point number one. MAGA doesn't need any allies within the far left. The idea that MAGA is failing somehow is completely wrong. The MAGA populist movement has overrun most of the Republican Party. At the local and state level, it's a wall of MAGA. At the federal level, after the midterms, it's likely to become a wall of MAGA. We're talking about nigh on 100 House seats. We're talking numerous senators, governors, etc. Even those that don't toe the populist line at least are dancing to the same tune at this point to try to save their careers. This is why Ted Cruz, Trump derangement syndrome sufferer initially, plays big on the movement. This is why Rubio doesn't talk about it too much. He's definitely not a populist. He's a standard classic neocon, or at least not far removed from it. But he's not willing to challenge the MAGA movement. Even the legacy media, which pounds the idea of Make America Great Again constantly as though it was some sort of extremist event, even they throttle back at times because they realize that the actual policies put forth by Donald Trump and others are popular. They're resorting. Look at Stacey Abrams, for example. All she's got is an id poll platform. This is half the Democratic contenders in the midterms. Beto O'Rourke, fucking Charlie Crist, the other day comparing himself to Jesus, or at least DeSantis to Satan. You can see John Fetterman and his bullshit, etc., calling himself Fetterwoman, a very cringe moment. They're collapsing. They're having big problems right now. So number one point is that MAGA doesn't need allies from the left. It's already winning. It's already eroding the underpinnings of the old neocon, pro-war stupid movements of the Republican Party and relegating them to the dustbin of history. This is why Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell and other long-term neocons are trying to tank the midterm prospects right now. By Lindsey Graham with his national abortion bill, for example. They're trying to ram that through in order to give the Democrats more ammo because ultimately at the end of the day, neocons and neolibs get along. The neocons would much rather throw the midterms and let the Democrats continue controlling the Senate than have a bunch of MAGA to deal with. Mitch McConnell's afraid of losing his job, for example, as the leader of the Senate majority incoming. He knows that he won't keep that position if there are too many MAGA people in the Senate. Lindsey Graham is an old cohort, for example, of John McCain. That's point number one. MAGA just doesn't need communism. Number two, the idea that, well, we have different ideologies, but we're united by a common concept of destroying the current system is bullshit. What's the point of destroying the current system to implement one that's worse, namely communism? Hell, I would take a neoliberal government over a communist one. At least there's a pretense of caring about personal liberty. At least you're capable of governing the economy. Sure, it's going to be unfair to the worker. It's going to be unfair to the bourgeois middle class that those communists really want to eradicate literally by shooting people. Yeah, it's unfair to the working rich, so-called. Yeah, it's unfair to the poor. Yeah, it basically only works for maybe the top 5% at best. But at least there's somebody that it works for, and you don't even have to gulag people to make that economy work. Yeah, I'd prefer neoliberalism over communism, and that's going some considering my feelings about the Bidenomic economy. Third, as I pointed out, I believe this to be an AstroTurf. This is a deliberate attempt to denigrate populism by associating it with an extremist movement that the vast majority of people don't like. And I think that part of it is to try to convince the generally soft, never-Trumper neocon crowd, so Bush Republicans, McCain Republicans, people of that kind of boomerism, to not support, to vote Democrat instead of voting for MAGA candidates, by associating it with communism and socialism and things that they can never support. Which it's good that they don't support them, but they're doing it from the wrong premise. Everything about this concept is AstroTurf. The fact that it was trending is an AstroTurf. I see this over and over, by the way. If you check out US trending on Twitter, almost every single day there's some supposedly witty quip that, then gets quickly co-opted by porn channels usually, within the realm of sociopolitics in the United States, talking about Trump is evil, talking about how MAGA is extremist, etc., etc. Why would I think that this one is any different? I can't believe that I even have to fucking explain this to people. Yeah, communism is incommensurate with an actual pro-worker movement. Communism is incommensurate with the concept of the nation state. Well, explicitly, if you go by puristic communism, they want to abolish it. Of course. They want to destroy the United States. They want to have a Fidel Castro sort of movement. This is what it inevitably devolves into. Of course it can't party with MAGA. Why don't you just go off and join the fucking Green Party and do something useful and lose again? That's what communists should do. If you want to be useful, lose. That's the only way you can be useful in life. There's no other purpose to communists and socialists anyway. The idea that, by the way, anyone in MAGA is going to get taken in by this, despite every other ideological platform possible to conceive of, is a complete disagreement with communism. It is asinine. I don't think that you're changing anybody's minds, but good attempt. Yes, you ramped up those bots on Twitter. That's most of the site, according to some whistleblowers, or at least a large proportion of them. Okay, you botted up your trend. Most reasonable people have rejected it, so why don't you just go off and beat off to tanky footage again? Why don't you go and beat off to General Mao? I'm sure he would appreciate it too. By the way, you'd be found guilty of parasitism under the Soviet Union. It'd be in a fucking gulag, so yeah, enjoy. I'm sure that when the commie revolution, that will never actually happen, comes in your wildest dreams, I'm sure that you, with absolutely no real-world skills, the inability to grow a plant, the inability to do anything meaningful for society other than live off a fucking bourgeois trust fund, I'm sure you will not be in a gulag or on a collective farm. You will be a local official, and you'll have a nice shiny uniform and a bunch of zinc pins. The commies were cheap about these things. That's why you can buy a bulk lot for $10 off of eBay. It's not like they're uncommon. They handed them out like candy to try to promulgate patriotism. I'm sure you'll have your local Bolshevik office position, and you'll have a nice desk and office, and you'll have your vodka under the desk, and you can just stay drunk all day to forget about the fact that there are no cabbages in the bread line. Yeah, real fun times under communism. That's exactly what MAGA needs. It looks a little bit like the co-opting of other major undercurrent movements within the United States, and it's usually, in retrospect, led by government factions within the neolib-neocon dichotomy. It's been this way since the atomic era. That's about all. Peace out.